On today's show,
figuring out different rotations and who needs to be by each other and coming up with strategies to beat other teams. And a lot of people don't realize that. And they just think it's bump set, spike, get the ball over. But there's a lot of strategy to the game, and I enjoy that challenge.
It is showtime on Kansas Sports Chatter. That's really all I need to say today. Okay, fine. It's a statewide high school sports entertainment show that's streaming on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hey, all right. Less is more sometimes. The guests today, Armane Redmond, Bronx Sitton, Jaxon Meyers from the Salina South football team will be our leadoff question guest. Scott Paske with KSHSAA Covered will join us for story time. Brandy Paul, Beloit Trojans volleyball coach, will be our quality time interview. Conor Nicholl with Sunflower Sports Solutions. Interesting take on eight-man football with a lot of blowouts over the years on what might happen with those two divisions in eight-man football. Trey, Donovan, Emporia Gazette sports reporter, will be with us later on. And Grace Morenz, a member of the University of Kansas rowing team and out of Wamego High School, will be our next level talents toward the end of the show. Good conversation about rowing with Grace Morenz. Let's get to it with our leadoff question. It is today's leadoff question on Kansas Sports Chatter. We're joined with a Salina South football athlete, Armane Redmond. Armane, your question today, what do you remember about your first varsity game?
So my first varsity game, I believe it was Derby. We played Derby in 2023, my freshman year. I think it was like late game, maybe like the last offensive drive. It was like coach put me in. He told me get ready. So I was just ready. I was just grateful for the opportunity, and he put me in, and just that last drive, I think it was 3 back-to-back negative plays, and then we ended up punting. So one thing I remember is that I got really sped up, and I just didn't know, like, I guess how varsity was really like until that game.
What were your nerves like going in, either before the game started or especially when you knew you're going to go into the game? What were your nerves like?
Before the game, I was just thinking about just keeping my head down, just staying focused the entire game, and just watching the person ahead of me, which was Carson Power, running back. And my nerves before I went in, whenever he told me to go in, I was just like, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready for this opportunity. And I was grateful for the opportunity that I got, and it was just a good, fun experience.
Have you ever rewatched that game? Do you go back and rewatch that first one?
I rewatched that a little bit. I just rewatched it a little bit ago, and I mean, I just wish I could have did more.
What are the I guess the obvious improvements that you have made since that first game?
Just I've put my head down, I've grinded, and just had a great time just in the off season in the weight room, just getting bigger and stronger and faster.
That is Armane Redmond with Salina South football, and that is our leadoff question. It is today's leadoff question with Salina South student athlete on the football team, Bronx Sitton. Bronx, your question today, what do you remember about your first varsity game?
Honestly, just first things first, I'd say it's really rough. We were going into Derby. It was my sophomore year. I was kind of undersized for my age. So, going into Derby, lows and looking pretty good.
What were your nerves like?
They were pretty bad because, going into Derby, just the atmosphere there, it's a really cool atmosphere. And, going there, I think they won state the year before or something like that, but they've been pretty good every year.
At what point did you eventually settle in? What makes you kind of settle into games?
I kind of feel like I didn't really get many targets or anything like that. I was just playing fullback, but kind of settling in, I feel like just kind of getting a good, decent block there. I think that would help me settle in.
Did you ever visualize on how you kind of want that first game to go? Did you ever do that your sophomore year?
Yeah, kind of on the bus right down there. I was thinking I was gonna, light it up, but that didn't end up happening. So
Overall, though, do you feel like you held your own in your first game?
I don't think so. I kind of got my number. They had me all game. It wasn't fun. I'll tell you that.
What improvements have you made since that game, Bronx?
I've really focused on getting stronger in the weight room, getting faster. Coach was preaching it, just stronger, faster, quicker, getting better every day. So that's kind of it.
Have you watched any highlights or any moments from that first game your sophomore year?
I watched a little bit of it, but I kind of try to stay away from it. Brings back some bad memories.
Fair enough. Moving on. Bronx, appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
That is Bronx Sitton with Salina South football, and that is our leadoff question. It is our leadoff question with Salina South, a student athlete on the football team, Jaxon Meyers. Jaxon, what do you remember about your first varsity football game?
I remember I started at DB that year, my sophomore year. Yeah, it's just a lot going on. It's a blur now, but yeah.
What were your nerves like going into that game?
They were through the roof. I was very nervous because we were going against a derby at their stadium, so it was a lot of nerves going through.
What eventually gets you settled in, whether it's that game or even now? What gets you settled into a game?
Just like making a play. I remember like first quarter, it was like second down. A guy beat me, but I recovered. It was a bad ball, but I had a pass breakup and it kind of got me going.
Did you perform well in that game? Do you remember any of your highlights?
I think I did decent. I wouldn't say it was the best I could have performed.
Have you rewatched that game at all?
Not really. I watched it a little bit ago, but
what improvements have you made since that first game?
I made a lot of improvements, just grinding, asking coaches for help, what I could do to get better, and just grinding all season.
What are some of those things that they really kind of pointed out to you that you could get better at?
Just being a leader more, because the last couple of years we've been 0-9, so it was just we need leadership to get us going.
That is Jaxon Meyers with Salina South football with today's leadoff question. Jaxon Meyers, Bronx Sitton, and Armane Redmond from Salina South, our leadoff question guests. Thanks to those three for coming on the show. When we come back, it'll be Scott Paske. He is part of the KSHSAA coverage staff writers. He has another story that he wrote, and we'll be sharing the details right after this.
The key to a great game is sportsmanship. It is essential to show respect to your opponents, teammates, coaches, and yourself. Playing hard, being fair, and having fun are what sportsmanship is all about. Whether you win or lose, congratulate your team and opponents for their hard work and dedication. Good sportsmanship is about demonstrating integrity, fairness, and respect. Let's show the world what true sportsmanship is all about this season.
Kansas Sports Chatter is not your ordinary sports show. It's fast-paced, has tons of interviews, and is a celebration of all the successes that high school athletics bring us. Hear from statewide guests, the coaches, the players, officials, media personalities, and all the recognizable big names that make high school athletics so great in Kansas. Kansas Sports Chatter, where sports and entertainment collide. Check it out on YouTube or anywhere you download your podcasts. Kansas Sports Chatter is back at it. It's time for story time, our opportunity to talk with one of these staff writers from KSHSAA coverage. Scott Paske is back on the show. Scott, how you faring so far? How has the fall season treated you so far?
Oh, real good. It's it's hard to believe we're already flipping into October, and still Mother Nature's trying to figure out what season it is. But so far, high school football, at least the games I've gone to, I haven't had to deal with much weather, so it's going pretty smoothly. But yeah, I'm always surprised when we get this. How fast we get to week 6, week 5, week 6 of a high school football season for sure.
No, you just wait. That rain and that wind, it's coming. It's going to pop up here sooner or later.
Absolutely.
Hey, you mentioned, the topic for today's interview, some sleeper teams. There's a lot of really good teams throughout the state like there is each and every year. But there's also a lot of teams that maybe aren't getting necessarily the same recognition or just the same, I don't want to say respect, but I think they're getting respect, but at the same time, they're not getting maybe as much kudos as some of the other teams. Start out with Oxford. I mean, you talk about an 8-man team that has gone off to a really good start. I mean, Oxford is there.
Yeah, that's a team I had a chance to see recently. Went down to Oxford and saw them beat a previously unbeaten Pratt Skyline team 46-0. And I think that kind of showed me that Oxford might have a ceiling that could be a little higher than a lot of people would expect. You know, they had a good season last year at 7-3 and made past the first round of the playoffs. Lost to eventual champion Hoxie. Graduated a really good player, an all-state player in Cordell Jordan. So you kind of wondered just what Oxford would have coming back, and so far so good. I mean, they really dominated to this point. Tyler Brown, I know a guest on one of your recent shows, is a good two-way lineman. And then against Skyline, I really saw the potential in junior Logan Gaither, who ran for 273 yards and 5 touchdowns in that game against Skyline, and just a really solid player. Big physical kid with good speed and plays a real physical middle linebacker spot. So it looks like Oxford has some pieces there that the thing that's going to maybe hold them down or keep them from being a higher seed in the bracket is they're in the same district with number 1 ranked South Central, and that'll be a good test to end their regular season and really kind of see maybe what the ceiling is for them. But I think Oxford is one of those teams with the right matchup. They certainly have some pieces that could make them a formidable player in the 8-man playoffs.
You look at Inman, I mean, their only loss was a shootout. They almost put up, 50 points and came up empty against a really talented Sterling team. Inman, and we had Malachi Brunk on the show as well, and he seems like a special athlete. Yeah,
he just is putting up huge numbers every week, and that's what I think Inman, like you said, they play that 60-47 shootout with unbeaten Sterling and beat a previously unbeaten Marion team 52-30. So what you notice there is if you're going to beat Inman, you better be ready. You probably better be ready to shut them down and find a way to play some defense, because Bronx has been able to help Inman put up a lot of points, and they've also got a really good defensive playmaker in Cooper Weens. Now the Teutons have given up a lot of points, but Weens is one of those guys, real disruptive. I think it's closing in on the school sack record, and so just a real problem for quarterbacks. But Inman is a team that I'm really curious to see. They'll probably have to battle Mound Ridge, another one-loss team in the regular season finale for the district title. So they'll have some tests ahead of them. But that Heart of America, Hutchinson Trinity is another team in the Heart of America that is 4-1, or enters week 6 at 4-1, and maybe hasn't played the same level of schedule, but what they have done is dominated some opponents. And Drew Deckant, their quarterback, is doing it with his arm and with his feet. That's another team. They'll have to play Sterling in their regular season finale, probably for a district title. But yeah, that Heart of America, you've got Sterling that entered October unbeaten, and then a lot of one-loss teams that are kind of establishing their pecking order. And I think at this point, what I'm seeing is that Inman might be one of those teams that could go, could make a run a little deeper into November. And we'll see with Hutch Trinity. I think that's a team with Deckett's an experienced player too. And Hutch Trinity right now is looking good in the Heart of America as well.
Coach Meyers at Mulvane High School was on that Shrine Bowl staff last year, and he'll be the head coach next year. I remember talking to him earlier in the season, Scott, and he was pretty excited about this year, and rightfully so. A solid 4-1 start to only that tough loss against Buhler earlier on the season. They responded well.
Yeah. Buehler's kind of been their nemesis and beat them twice last year. And in a 7-3 season, that was a good bounce back season for Mulvane and kind of got them back on their feet. And this year they're 4-1. That are 4-1 going into week 6, and have had a couple close calls, but they really kind of like Inman. They have that playmaker at quarterback with Manny Meyers. He's a good dual threat guy and really can be a factor for them. And after this tape, as the time of this taping, they're getting ready to play McPherson, and so another good test awaits Mulvane. But Mulvane seems to be experienced and with experienced in the right spots, and I think that makes them a dangerous team in 4A.
Finally, I mean, continuing with the sleeper teams. I mean, it's hard to be a sleeper when you're undefeated. Through the first 5 weeks, Salina Central, one of those teams in Class 5A, and we were kind of discussing, like, if you're not in the top 5, depending on whatever your rankings are you're looking at, it's like you're not even noticed. But Salina Central, that's a really good team.
Yeah. 5A's kind of got an elite club of really good teams this year that have kind of dominated those top 5 spots in the rankings. But you keep looking and seeing what Salina Central's doing, and they've put up really good offensive numbers the last few seasons, and they're just doing it again. They've got a really in senior tailback Cooper Reeves, a guy who went over 1,000 rushing yards in the first 5 games of the season, and Central kind of has the meat of its schedule ahead of it. They're like Hutch Trinity haven't really played the heavyweights of their league yet, but Salina Central is doing, they've done some good things to this point and scored a lot of points. It's another team that as we get to the playoffs, they have that element that they're a tough offense to stop, and you start looking at who would they match up with, I guess, when you get into November, and no matter who they end up facing, they're going to be a real challenge for the opposing defense with Reeves kind of leading the way on the offensive side.
Scott, if someone goes to Acacia Covered, what will they be seeing? What are some of the things that you guys coming out?
Yeah, as we get into mid-October, we're kind of gearing up for the fall sports championship season. It all starts with state tennis here in mid-October, and then state girls golf right behind it, and then it just kind of they just kind of piggyback as we start kind of looking ahead to the winter season as well. But yeah, at the end of the month with state volleyball and cross country, and of course we'll have complete coverage of the football season on into November and into the playoffs.
Sounding good, Scott. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks. Always enjoy it, Cole.
That is Scott Paske, one of the staff writers for Acacia Cover. That'll do it for Storytime. Here's a hard truth. If your business isn't using AI in its marketing, you've already fallen behind. But there's an advertising agency in Kansas that can get you back up to speed. That agency's name is Meyers Enterprises Media Research. The name sounds dry because the company's run by engineers, not salespeople. They use superior research and analytics that drive results with surgical precision. Marketing doesn't have to be a gritty battle in the trenches. Your business can win from the box. Visit their website, mediaresearch.agency, to learn more. It is our quality time interview on Kansas Sports Chatter, an opportunity to spend a little extra time with our next guest, and that guest will be Brandy Paul, the head coach of the Beloit High School volleyball team. Coach, appreciate you coming on the show. And for you, I mean, this has got to be an exciting time of the year with, the postseason right around the corner, 20-plus matches under your belts. This has got to be a good time of the year for you as a volleyball coach.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's pretty exciting. Like I told you before, we've had some injuries and up and downs that we've dealt with all season also. And, yesterday was the first day that I had all my players back and we got to play a game. And so it was like preseason for me, post August again. So super excited to see what this team can do here coming into the postseason.
Well, I know, unfortunately, injuries are just a part of the sports and any type of sport. But for you, when you have to deal with those, like, what is that process like? And just trying to figure out, or I guess refigure out what your strategy is going to be.
Yeah, it was difficult. This was actually the first time. I told you, this is my 13th season as head coach, and this is the first time that I've ever had to deal with a injured player out for the season. I've had it, a few times that we've had to deal with sickness or maybe miss one game, but my player, Brecken Boudreaux, that you've heard of, she's been a starter for me for 4 years, been a big part of our program the last 4 years. And within the first hour of our first day of practice, she went up, hit a ball, just came down and knew something didn't feel right. And found out later she had torn her meniscus. And so this was her senior year. So that was a bit heartbreaking for me as a coach to see that. You always hear about it, other teams having to deal with that. And you always, feel the heartbreak for kids that have to deal with that, especially their senior year. And we didn't know quite, what was to expect if she's going to make it back. And it ended up that they ended up just taking it out. So it put her out. This week was 5 weeks. So, and she started kind of back to practice here about a week and a half ago and has just progressed. But around that, we had to totally go different than what we had been preparing for. And we had played a lot of summer ball this summer. And so, we just next girl up, and we had, some freshmen that had helped us out this summer when we had girls gone, and she jumped into that role real quick and has done an amazing job and earned her a spot that, necessarily she might have not have had before. So, sometimes you think, that's the plan, and maybe things happen for a reason, but it was difficult, but I was so proud of my team. They never looked down. They never, second guessed anything. They just rolled with my plan and jumped in and just never skipped a beat. And then the first tournament, we had a girl go down, my setter hitter, and she had, as a freshman, first game, and rolled her ankle and missed that tournament, the rest of the tournament, and came back the next week and played for us that week. And then about 2 weeks ago, she rolled her ankle again in PE, the same one, but it was pretty bad. It missed the last 11 games. So I was out again, but it was kind of good that we had that happen to us at the first tournament of the year, because we already knew right away we, rerouted what we were doing again. And so we were ready for that. And like I said, these girls, this team, they've already dealt with so much this season and haven't skipped a beat and have such a great attitude that it just gets me really excited. We got both them girls back yesterday for our first game. Monday was the first practice that we had everybody together and went with what we're planning on until we see that we need to change it. But it was really excited Monday at that practice. Like I said, it was like the first day of practice again, to have everybody back and put them in the roles that I wanted them at. Some things that I had seen with other two girls were gone that could benefit us around all the rotations, and figured it out and put the pieces together. And we threw it in there Monday, practiced rotations, and then had a game yesterday. And I was pleased with it. I thought we looked real good, and we're just going to keep building on that. And super excited what this team can do. Just their attitudes and how they dealt with everything this season and their energy. It inspires me. So, this is my 13th year, and I'm as excited as I have ever been with any group of kids. So looking forward to what they can do and see how much better we can get in the next 3 weeks. So.
Brandy Paul with Beloit Volleyball joining us here on the show. Like, for you, especially like figuring out new rotations, because like your schedule, like you go out and schedule, because you look at that competition that you play with Beloit and some of the matches that you had already on the season, coach. Like, for you as a coach, like, I know some of it's going to be determined with your league opponents, but like, what is going through your mind when you're trying to fill out a schedule for volleyball?
Oh yeah, we like to play tough competition, because I know that'll benefit us in the end, win or lose. It lets us know where we're at and what we got to do to compete. And yeah, our toughest part of the season was without them girls. So that even gets me more excited, because now we're throwing them back in. And then we have a great tournament this weekend in Concordia that has competition, high level competition. So it'll let me see what this rotation can do. But just seeing what these girls have done so far with the competition that we've played already gets me really excited of now what we can do with all of them back. But yeah, we like to have a tough schedule, win or lose, like I said, because that's, we know in the end that will make us better in the long run. So we'll continue that and always try to get as many tough teams in the season that we can see.
Well, Beloit Volleyball and what you've been able to accomplish has been really impressive, especially the consecutive league titles. And I know, like, over time, like, league titles have kind of changed as far as, teams coming in and out of the league. And maybe some years in certain sports, you can't necessarily play everybody in your league. But for volleyball, how much does that mean to you to have that success year in and year out, just even at the league level?
Yeah, that's pretty special. How these girls have dominated the league, and especially because we always have a target on our back. It seems like our league teams always come out and play the best against us. And just last night, we saw Southeast of Salina, and the first game we played pretty well and handled them pretty well, and then the second game we started off really well, and then second set, things just weren't going our way. They weren't dropping where we needed them to, and they beat us the second set. And then the third set was tight. And I think we were down 17-22. And it was just amazing to watch the girls stay calm and keep their composure. And we ended up winning 25-23. But yeah, definitely. And I had an interview this morning with the radio station here. And, I didn't even think about it until he brought it up. It's been 3 years since we've lost a league game. And that last loss was to Southeast. He is like deja vu. But it really was last night. I felt a little nervous. Thank goodness the girls, you didn't see that on them. They kept their composure and they have that confidence in themselves. So, but I'm proud of these girls. They take great pride in that. That's all on them. They work hard, so we can, be that successful in our league. And they put a lot of time and effort into this program. And so, I give them all the credit in the world.
Being a Beloit High School graduate and now going, like you said, your 13th year as head coach of the volleyball team, how much fun has it been being from Beloit and then having the success you've had at Beloit so far at volleyball? Oh,
it's a blast. And I was more of a basketball player in high school. So coming back and ended up coaching volleyball, I would have never guessed that if you would have asked me that 30 years ago. But I wouldn't change it for the world. I love the game. I came back and I was assistant for 7 years with my high school coach. And she had so much passion for the game and taught me so much about the game. And I just fell in love with it, coaching. And, I have a lot of Trojan pride, a lot of alumni. And Beloit was never really a volleyball school. So that was my goal. I remember our principal now, Casey Seifert, I remember he was the athletic director when I started. In my first year, I only won 10 games. And he told me, well, that was better from the year before because we only won 9. And I was thinking, no, I wasn't satisfied. He's like, and he told me it takes at least 5 years to turn around a program. And I was like, no, I can't take 5 years. I don't want it to take 5 years. So, but the hard work and dedication from the get-go of the kids that helped me build this program. I give them, like I said, I give these players and their parents and our community all the credit because without that support, we would never be where we're at now. They put a lot of time and effort, money into, playing in the winter, playing in the summer. We play a lot of summer ball. And, without that support coming from everybody around, we wouldn't be able to build such a successful program. And, our administration is great with all the support they give us. In Beloit, we take great pride in our school system and in our sport. And we get that from our administration and from the community. So, I give them all the credit with building this program, and it's been a joy to see it.
Well, you mentioned being a basketball player and kind of more on that basketball side. What made you want to make that switch to volleyball full time? Was there a certain moment you're like, okay, I'm going to stay with volleyball?
The job was open. And they asked me to be assistant coach. And from there on, I fell in love with it. And like I said, I wouldn't change it. I love the game. And I love the challenge of the game. And some people don't realize really how much there is to volleyball. And I love that there's really a lot of technique to it and figuring out different rotations and who needs to be by each other and coming up with strategies to beat other teams. And a lot of people don't realize that. And they just think it's bump set, spike, get the ball over. But there's a lot of strategy to the game. And I enjoy that challenge. I've always been competitive. And so I fell in love with it. And yeah, I wouldn't change it now.
Hey, Coach, appreciate your time and best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
That is Brandy Paul, the head coach of the Beloit Trojans volleyball team. That'll do it for our quality time interview. SPX Specialized Video Wall Solutions. Your gym needs SPX. It's time to dive into our Conor Nicholl knowledge segments, where we just kind of get to go into the mind of Conor Nicholl, who has such a vast knowledge of what's going on throughout the state in high school athletics. Conor, appreciate you coming on, also with Sunflower Sports Solutions and a contributor to K-Preps as well. For you, I almost just want to give you the floor, say, hey, what's on your mind, and go for it. But you mentioned some trends in high school football right now through the first few weeks that have been pretty impressive.
Yeah, certainly. So one thing I am doing this year, and along with some others who kind of assisting me with this, is we are doing trends of every game across all levels, and I think that the big first trend is 8-man becoming too non-competitive. And I think that has been an overarching question over the last probably 12 to 18 months, is once you get past, say, team 6 to 8 in a classification, are you just simply seeing too many blowouts? I think a question that has been posed is, should 8-man go to one classification, with some changes that might happen with 1A, especially with some schools out west like Oakley dropping to 8-man. There will be no 1A schools that will be west of Highway 183 in Kansas except Syracuse, and everybody expects Syracuse to drop as well. Stanton County dropped. So would it behoove everybody if 8-man went to one class? And I think we've got some numbers that really bear that out. For example, in the first 3 weeks, 8-man had 20 games total decided by one score or fewer. Okay, 20 games total. 2A has the same number, and they have about half the games. You look at 6A, the number is astounding of close games. 6A through 3 weeks has had 46 games decided by a score, or within a score. And obviously they have way fewer teams than the 8-man. 8-man has about 100 teams, Class 6A has 32. And so I do think this is a trend that we need to watch. I think certainly in 8-man 2 this year, you've got 4 teams that I think are significant, and really even 3 that are heads and tails above everybody else: Hanover, Axtell, and Victoria. And then in 8-man 1, and then you've got 2 teams out west that are well ahead of the pack. And then you've got, I don't know, maybe 2 to 4 teams in the east. But it used to be, and some of our coaches have told me this too, you could say a classification goes 10 deep. I don't think that's the case in 8-man in either class. And I think some coaches and some people, administrators, I've talked to probably between 5 and 7 over the last year about this. People are very, very worried about what 8-man could be, because you're just getting too many blowouts. And could the classification move from 2 to 1? And I think so far the data kind of proves that out.
And I don't know how much you math this out, but you mentioned maybe some changes to the 1A schools. So if you did want to combine, the obvious thing would be well, would there be too many schools? So I guess what would be your solution to having so many 8-man schools in the same division?
Certainly. So I think what will happen is, if you, and I'm kind of giving a brief summary here, but if you move the 11-man count, if you change the 11-man count, and if you change the 6-man count. So right now there's 24, 25 6-man schools. And if you were to move that to roughly, if you got 6-man up to about 35, 40 schools, and if you changed the 1A, then it would kind of balance things out a little bit more. And if you would, then you would balance out a little bit more of the 11-man. Then you could put 8-man 1, at around 50 teams, as opposed to the 100 it is now. by just some simple math. I mean, if 20 more teams go to 6-man, and if 10 to 15 more teams go to 11-man, I mean, that's a basic way to kind of start that out. Now, could this realistically happen by next year? Probably not. But this is something that people have definitely been talking about for a while now. And we were interested in the data, and so far, I mean, week 2, 8-man Division II played 34 games. They had one game won within a touchdown.
Yeah, you got the numbers. That's for sure. Conor, Nicholl joining us here on Kansas Sports Chatter with Sunflower Sports Solutions. And what is you can check it all out on YouTube. Are you looking for a new way to promote your business or organization? Do you want to get your message out to a statewide audience that loves high school sports in both urban and rural areas? Kansas Sports Chatter has advertising opportunities from commercials, sponsoring specific guests, product placements, and even a premier sponsorship. Let Kansas Sports Chatter promote your brand. Contact ksportschatter@gmail.com for more advertising details. That's ksportschatter@gmail.com. Come join the chatter. Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. It's time for our football chatter, and it's a great opportunity not only to get to know what's going on within the sport of football or anything around the states, but different guests in different areas of the state that help us cover the Sunflower States. And Trey Donovan with the Emporia Gazette Sports Department joining us here. Hey, Trey, I know you're freshly into that job there at Emporia, so how have things gone so far covering the Emporia area in the last couple months?
It's been pretty fun. It's a complete 180 from my college experience at Baker. Coaches get back to me a lot quicker and are a lot more passionate. I mean, Baker coaches were amazing if they talk to you, but coaches here get back to you. It's fun interviewing them. They're super passionate about their students and their teams, so it's been fun.
Well, you look at, starting with Emporia High School, obviously you guys cover a lot of other area towns around Emporia, but, the big central hub of Emporia for you, for them, I guess snapping that losing streak had been a pretty big story coming into the season.
Oh, yeah. They're on a 21-game losing streak. I knew about that before I even came into Emporia. Well, it was 21 after they lost week 1, but before then, 2 winless seasons. That's an insane losing streak, and it had to have hurt the morale of that team and the program for a bit. But hey, new coach comes in, implements his culture, implements his systems, and suddenly they got 2 wins when a lot of people probably didn't expect him to win this year.
I mean, you talk about first-year coach Daniel Goodman. What have you learned from him? What have you kind of taken on his style and just his philosophy?
He's a very hard worker, and he wants his team to work hard. I think that was his first big step. Now he wants his team to take the next step into competing every down. Because last week against Manhattan, Manhattan's a tough school to play because they're very good at football, and at times it looked like they weren't competing hard enough. So that's his next step with Emporia High.
You look at over the first half of the football season, what have been some of the headlines and the storylines that have kind of caught your eye, and just some of the interesting stories about Emporia football?
So Emporia football is with the offensive scheme, they run a flex bone now. And they are powered by senior Rylan Crowell. He is explosive. That offense is explosive, and it runs through him. I think this year they have an absurd amount of 20-plus yard touchdowns, and it's through him, through their quarterback, Micah Gray. And it's a very explosive offense, but it's also a very boom or bust.
Okay.
But when it's booming, it's booming.
Well, Micah Gray, kind of tell me about his style, what he's been able to do so far.
So he's obviously in a flex bone. You're not throwing the ball a ton. So he's kind of the Ryland's the lightning, and Mike is the thunder. So he's the power to the And against Manhattan, it was his first start back from hurting his hand, and he was just trying to run over people, no matter who it was. And Manhattan had some big dudes on their defensive line, so all credit to him trying to run him over.
Any other big time stories that we should be aware of around the Emporia area?
So Emporia soccer is doing very well this year. They are, I believe, 6-2-1 now. Ironically, they also just faced Manhattan and they drew with them. They're having a good rebound year after last year. They went 6-10-1 last year, and they're headlined by senior Kevin Magana, who is just an absurd talent and getting scouted by D1 schools already. And he is putting together another great year and should probably will be an all-state team rep for the team.
Well, for you, what has it been like just kind of settling into the Emporia area, and like what did you know about Emporia sports before you settled into the Emporia Gazette, and what have you found out?
So, as I said earlier, I kind of knew about Emporia High being not good at football for a little bit. But outside of that, I knew Emporia State always had a solid football program and that they were kind of a solid sports school. That's kind of all I knew. I didn't know much because I always just drove past Emporia to go somewhere else. But it's been fun here.
Nicely done. Well, we'll let you get back at it and continue those stories, and we'll touch base later on.
Yep, thank you.
That is Trey Donovan with the Emporia Gazette, one of the sports reporters. That'll do it for our football chatter.
Whether it's a Friday night football game or a Saturday Scholars Bowl tournament, there are many people behind the scenes to make these activities function. The Kansas State High School Activities Association and the Student Advisory Team would like to thank all those who make these events happen for our students. Without school administrators, event workers, custodians, officials, transportation personnel, and office staff, these events would not be possible. Your hard work and dedication allow students throughout the state to participate in the activities that they love.
It is our next level talents on Kansas Sports Chatter, our opportunity to talk to former high school athletes from the state of Kansas that are now competing in a college or a university in the state of Kansas. Today's guest, Grace Morenz, a member of the University of Kansas rowing team and out of Wamego High School. Grace, appreciate you coming on the show. For you, like growing up in Wamego, like what was it like for you and just like competing there at Wamego?
Honestly, it was so different than what it is right now. Wamego is just such a like small town where everybody knows everybody. And so it was such a like I guess I could say that it is a lot similar to KU athletics because just like it being so like intertwined, everybody like loves supporting everybody. And here at KU, like all of the teams, like we all love supporting each other here too. So it's similar that way, yeah.
So Wamego High School competed in volleyball, basketball, and track. Like, which one of those three was your favorite? Which one did you enjoy the most?
I would say volleyball. That's definitely one of the ones that I miss the most and I miss playing. But I love running, so probably track too. It switches day by day.
So for you competing in all those sports and like getting into rowing now at KU, like what was your knowledge of rowing prior to arriving in Lawrence?
Honestly, very slim. I had come on actually a couple of visits. KU was really, really just enthusiastic about really wanting me here, so they brought me up a couple of times, which is really nice. So I got to learn a little bit more than I think a few other people know before they get here, but it was really nothing.
So what is that recruiting process like? Because that's always kind of intrigued me where, if you're a really good athlete, I know it translates well to rowing, but like knowing nothing about the sports, for the most part going in, like how do they go about that recruiting process and like, oh yeah, I could do rowing in college?
So we actually kind of talk about this a lot, that it's a sport that it's very easy to teach. It's very technical. Um, there's so many like minor changes that will fix something, but something that you can't teach is being an athlete and having grit and wanting to work hard. So that's kind of something that they like to focus towards for recruiting. Another thing that they initially strive for is just height. And so I think it's if you are above like 5'10", honestly, because I was from actually the K-State area, if you're like above 5'10", you're getting these like recruiting forms sent to your high school of like, hey, come join the K-State rowing team. And I was like, I don't really want to go to K-State. Like that's just where I've lived my whole life. Um, but I did want to kind of look into it. So I went, and there's like a recruiting form that you like fill out on the rowing website. So we went to the KU rowing website and filled it out. And ever since then, I guess it fit.
Yeah, I'll say it's worked out really well. Once you did commit though, like what was the learning curve like for you? Like how much did you just dive in to try to figure out, how to be good at rowing?
I think a lot of it was just knowing that you really have to continue your endurance. And so the summer coming in to my freshman year, I had just obviously gotten out of track season, which I was a middle distance to distance runner. And so I had the endurance built up a little bit from that. And so just continuing that throughout the summer, just making sure that like I had the cardiovascular ability to be able to be doing this. And then actually, a lot of people don't know this, but rowing is predominantly a leg sport. And so just being able to heavy load on some weights for legs and different things like that.
So every day's leg day in the weight room, huh?
Oh, pretty much, pretty much.
So for you, you mentioned some of the small techniques that can really fix things in rowing. Like anything that maybe is common that maybe other people don't know, like just like as far as the techniques of rowing that are really helpful.
You really need a lot of core strength to help with a lot of balance. Something else that I also am still on my learning curve, because just recently over the summer I switched sides of the boat, is that your two hands do something completely different from each other. And so I'm still like making sure it's still like up in my head every single practice of like, okay, make sure that this hand isn't doing this because that's this hand now, and all of the things of just like completely flipping your brain.
So how much difference is that as far as being like your position on the boats? Like if you're in the front, you're in the middle, you're in the back, like how much of a difference does that make?
So the like bow is actually very interesting. So like you're in an 8, it's split up so that like obviously there's 4 people on each side. And the stern pair, which is the very front of the boat, which is also technically the back because we're backwards. But the front of the boat is the stern pair, and they are really like your rhythm people. They have really good rhythm and can like set it up for the rest of the people. The middle 4 is your like powerhouse, and they have all of the like, oh, I'm the engine basically. And then the bow pair, which is like the last 2 people, so the people that cross the finish line first are the people that really have good technique and can keep the boat set up, because that part of the boat is like out of the water the most, basically. And so they have a lot of impact on if the boat will swing side to side.
What's the competition like? You mentioned, like checking out K-State, whether it's like a Big 12 team or just around the country, like how much travel do you need, and what is the competition like around the area?
So competition around the area, I think we really like in this Midwest area, our areas kind of us, K-State, Tulsa, and Creighton around in this general few states. But a lot of our travel that we go to is actually east. So we travel to Florida a lot. We go to North Carolina, and we do also travel trips. We've gone to Chula Vista, California, which we're also going to go there again this year, as well as Tempe, Arizona.
Anything like I know it's obviously different sports, but at Wamego that you learned in athletics that has kind of carried you to the success you've had athletically now in college? Anything that stands out that you learned?
Um, I would say just like how to show up every day. There's times where things are going to get hard and maybe you're not agreeing with someone, which will happen when you're spending so much time with everybody. But honestly, just showing up every single day and making sure that you have a smile on your face and you can work hard.
Grace, appreciate your time and best of luck the rest of the year.
Yes, thank you so much.
That is Grace Morenz, a member of the KU rowing team and also out of Wamego High School, a part of our Next Level Talents. Are you a person that's always on the go? You can still easily keep up with Kansas Sports Chatter with the audio podcast. Hear each episode on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to follow the Kansas Sports Chatter podcast. Big thanks to our sponsors again, SPX and Meyers Enterprises. You can check out their websites and their services in the description on the YouTube channel video and also on our social media accounts where the video is posted as well. We'll talk to you again on Thursday for Kansas Sports Chatter.